There's been a sharp drop in the audiences for two of the BBC's flagship radio stations since the start of the year, according to newly released figures on radio listenership. Radio 1 and Radio 5 Live have seen their average weekly listeners drop by 8% and 13% respectively, with the latter losing more than 750,000 in 6 months. Other stations have held steady, according to data released by Radio Joint Audience Research, Rajar, with the audience for Radio 6 Music said to have reached a record high. The data by the research body shows that Radio 5 Live lost 436,000 listeners between the first and second quarter, which is the period between March and June 2022. A half-year comparison of figures for the radio station, which includes shows by the likes of Nikki Campbell and Naga Munchetty, indicates a fall of 763,000 listeners. Radio 1, which features presenters such as Greg James, saw a quarter-on-quarter drop of 201,000, while its half-year drop has been recorded as 692,000 listeners. And the quarter-on-quarter fall for Radio 4, excluding 4 Extra, was 308,000, whilst the new data suggests that the station experienced a half-year drop of 187,000 listeners. However, Radio 2, which features shows by the likes of Zoe Ball, and Radio 3 both held steady quarter-on-quarter, according to the newly released on radio audiences. Both Greg James' Radio 1 breakfast show and Zoe Ball's Radio 2 breakfast show generally held steady across the same time period, with James' show gaining 25,000 listeners. Aled Hayden-Jones, head of BBC Radio 1, said, "I'm so pleased to see an increase in listeners for the breakfast show with Greg James, and it remaining number 1 for our audience." "It's good to see the strategy we've developed at Radio 1 is working, indicating the strong connection the station has with young people across the UK on radio, YouTube, iPlayer and socials." Do you enjoy reading about celebrities? Sign up for all the best celeb news from the Mirror here. The data indicates that GB News Radio, which launched in July last year, saw a quarter-on-quarter increase of 38,000, from a relatively low base of 239,000 in March this year. Research body Rajar has cautioned against making comparisons with listening figures from before the COVID pandemic, as it's changed the way that it collects its data. All figures had previously been complied using face-to-face market research, though this has now been replaced with a mixture of in-person survey and data collected via apps. Results from the next quarter will mark 1 year since the change and therefore allow year-on-year analysis, which offers an insight into any long-term shifts in listen behavior. Web celebs at mirror.co.uk